Hi, it's Malcolm from aquaspray. I was asked on a message on Instagram whether we could change this unloader on the 1050p or 1050TS or TST is the same one to one that is adjustable like the 7122. Now when I'd stripped this in the past it did look very similar, so I'm gonna have a go and this is how I get on. So this is the one with the original unloader. I'm going to run the machine and see exactly where the pressure is. Some pressure gauges can be a little bit out, so if we determine where it is, we can set it up with the other one if it fits. So I always recommend to open the trigger and then turn it on. That's 125 bar, just a little bit higher once it unloads. So that's that test done. Release all the pressure, turn the water off. So the first things we need to do is take this unloader out. And the easiest way is to get an Allen key and just unscrew the unloader retaining cap that holds the spring. This can be quite tight because it's got a lot of spring pressure behind it. Once it's loose, you should be able to carry on with it by hand and just take that off. Next thing is the 19mm spanner for the unloader. Unscrew this. So that's loose. So once that's out, that's the main unloader, and there should be nothing else in that hole here. This is the unloader for the this is the unloader for the 7122. Some mental child there. Hope it doesn't burst through the gate now with an axe or something. I'm going to try this first. See what the differences are. Keep them all separate. So if I unscrew this completely, not to lose any of the bearings that are inside the spring, I'm going to keep it separate to them just in case it is different, although it looks pretty much the same. Just going to take these nuts off. Take the piston out. There's that one. Let's take the piston out of this. That's that one. Okay, so the nuts that hold it together, they look identical. Piston length is different length. This is obviously a shorter one, but the main thing I'm looking for is where it's going to be sealing. So the seal's here, the length of this nut as well. So the only thing I can see that is different, because they look the same diameter as well, is the length of this shaft, and that's to cope with obviously pressure reducing on and off. So it's on full pressure when it's screwed on tight. So I suppose we're going to have to set it up. So I'll have to find out where it is max pressure, because you don't want to run it over pressure. See where the threads have stopped there, that must be the max pressure. So I would be inclined to put this back on for now. Put the nuts on. What I'm doing is the actual end of the threads there. I'm going to need these nuts to be similar. So the way it looks is it might need a little bit more, might be low pressure because it can't tighten up as much as this. Not quite sure yet. How far has that gone? Okay, so you see the nut is too far low. It needs to go up to where it's going to stop. So it's going to be identical to the 7122, which is up a couple of threads like that. And we need to just tighten that. Two 10mm spanners. Just to lock them in place, that's going to be. So now that it's the same height as that nut, which is the tightest it can go, we'll soon see with the pressure gauge. I will probably set it up with the pressure gauge. It's probably going to be a little bit better than that. So while that's off, it's still very greasy. Tighten this up. That's that. The springs, again, they look identical. I haven't checked the part number, so I'll probably check the part number and see if they are the exact same springs, but they certainly look it. I will use the 7122 spring just because I know what it's like. Now I'm going to leave the lock nut off. That'll stop the red knob coming off, and the cap I'm going to just leave off because I'm just going to be testing it. So let's see if it works. So now it's on, just in case anything happens. I'm going to keep the trigger open. I'm going to turn it on and then slowly screw this up until it reaches the 125 bar that it was. Okay, so it works. You just have to make them lock nuts need to be a little bit higher to bottom this out so that it doesn't go past the 125 bar or 130 bar that it's supposed to be, depending on the lance nozzle that you've got in it. Okay, let's go and talk about it. So we're back. Will it work? Yes, it will. Will I recommend it? Not really, unless you're gonna do it properly. It's a good hack if you want more pressure, but more pressure is going to put more amps on the motor. You're going to have blowing fuses every now and again. You've got a chance of burning that motor up if you don't set this up correctly. So with that, at the moment it was going up to like 140 bar. It's only designed for 130 bar. So I would, if you are going to do this, unscrew it again. Take the pressure knob off, adjust these a little bit more, so wind it back so that the red knob stops. Red knob even stops. Wind these a little bit back so the red knob stops earlier, stopping at the correct pressure. You might have to do this a few times if you're going to do it, which I'm not sure people would do it, which is why I probably wouldn't recommend it. If you don't mind having the patience to stop and start and test it, then yeah, you can have a pressure reducing knob that will work on a 1050 range machine, and it's just by simply changing that unloader out from the original one that's not adjustable to the adjustable one. So it is pretty simple job. You only need a couple of spanners, 10mm spanners, 19mm spanners, and the Allen key, which is 4mm Allen key. Probably need to, once that's on, put that nut in there, close it off with a cap so it looks nice. Job's good. Well, I hope you liked the video. As you can see, that it does work. You just need to make sure that you set this up properly and that it doesn't go over pressure. You're not going to find that out if you've not got a pressure gauge on it, and then you have obviously the risk of overheating the motor or blowing fuses or doing some other damage. That's probably why I probably wouldn't recommend it. But if you've got the patience and you've got a pressure gauge to make sure that it stops exactly where it's supposed to stop, there's no reason why you can't change it for this unloader. I hope you liked the video. If you want to know anything else, whether anything else fits other machines or any other hack that we can do on the Kranzle, let me know and I will try and do it for you.